Here we are talking about Diddy Kong Racing, but it isn't alone. I'm actually going to be talking about 3 games this go around. Diddy Kong Racing, the original N64 release, is getting top billing in this particular review. Then I'm also going to briefly talk about the DS version as well. Then I'll talk a little bit about a small Game Boy Advance game called Banjo Pilot, a game that was originally supposed to be a Diddy Kong style game originally. So I'll be covering the gambit here, and while I'll be talking about them slightly out of order of release, I'm sure you'll all understand as to why. I'll still be going over some details and history, but as stated, the original Diddy Kong Racing is getting top billing this time around. It is the game I'm most familiar with after all, as until this review I never really played Banjo Pilot, and I didn't put much time into Diddy Kong Racing DS, though I did try it back in the day. I did eventually gain Diddy Kong Racing towards the later part of the N64 lifespan, and while the game itself actually came out in 1997, with the N64 releasing in 1986. Rare was supposed to be releasing Banjo-Kazooie around this time, but due to delays, Diddy Kong Racing was pegged as the next game in the release date instead. However, Diddy Kong Racing was originally a game called Wild Cartoon Kingdom. It was Disney-inspired, which is kind of neat, but eventually changed. It was eventually retitled as Pro-Am 64, but it was actually making great progress and was ahead in its development cycle. So when it came time to release it instead of Banjo, it changed again. This time it was supposed to be a big N64 Christmas game, so Rare figured they may need a bigger name than the true main character, Timber the Tiger. That would be why Diddy Kong entered the fray and suddenly became the main character, though there are some other familiar faces here as well. Tip Top and Banjo from Banjo and Kazooie, as well as Conker from Conker's Bad Fur Day, all show up here as racers. That's pretty cool now, but back then? Yeah, nobody knew who they were. This is literally Conker and Banjo's debut title, and you're all still trying to remember who the hell Tip Top is. He's a side character in both Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie, the turtle who gives you a jigsaw piece or two. Either way, he's a racer here. And this is a nice mashup of rare characters who would soon be pretty popular, with Diddy Kong as the top mascot. This is it. Let's begin this review and dive right into the review. Let's do this. Let's take on Wizpig, the space alien wizard pig, who may have been inspired by Ganondorf, who races. So Timber the Tiger is just a kid whose parents run this theme park-like island. They left for a vacation. That's an interesting idea, isn't it? If you ran or owned a massive theme park with dinosaurs, forests, beaches, and even an Iceland, where the hell do you go for an actual vacation? Either way, Timber was supposed to run the island while they were gone, but some cartoon-friendly version of Ganon named Wizpig just comes in and takes over. Yeah, this is pretty unopposed, and the island's guardians are quickly brainwashed via spell that forces them loyalty to Wizpig. So, yeah, things look dire here, but instead of calling his folks for backup, Timber sends the word out and looks for, more or less, hire some of his friends to beat Wizpig. Now, Wizpig is a racer at heart, so that's the name of the game. Wizpig wants to race. Timber obviously wants to beat him, there are others here too. Pipsy was evicted out of her home by Wizpig, and Bumper just seems to love racing, but the rest are actually friends of Diddy for some reason. Yeah, this includes Banjo, Conker, Tip Top, and, well, Crunch is actually a Kremlin that's basically here to spy on Diddy, but he also just seems to love racing, so he offers to help. This isn't like a fantastic RPG-style story, no, but for a simple tale to promote the adventure mode, I think this actually works. There's a few kart racer games that opt to try and tell a story, but the story ends up a little too overly silly or weird, but this story actually kind of makes some sort of sense, and it fits the cartoon aesthetic, so A+ here. Now, talking about the aesthetics, the game looks really good. The character models could have used some work, but they're simplistic lower polygons, which kind of works for racing games. The settings are great though. They have a prehistoric theme which has a volcano, a dinosaur skeleton, and actual dinosaurs to dodge with the Triceratops boss fight. The only issue is that his name is Tricky, and I'm slightly conflicted all of a sudden, thanks to Rare and, Star Fox. But no, the boss isn't super annoying or anything like that, so. Next level is the Ice level, which has a Winter Night Village, snowball obstacles, and a loop-de-loop with some ice water issues and a walrus boss fight. The beach level has some pirate ships and whales, as well as a nice beach track, treasure caves, along with an octopus race for a boss. Last but not least, the fourth area is a forest area. It has haunted woods, another village, some log obstacles in a river, and windmills. And of course, you race a dragon. These courses are actually pretty varied despite having themes with them, and the boss fights do look really well designed. As for the music, the entire OST is a bouncy, fun gem. I love the OST for Diddy Kong Racing, though I wouldn't say it beats out other favorite OSTs either. Pirate Lagoon, Crescent Island, Everfrost Peak, Greenwood Village, Dark Moon Caverns, and Jungle Falls are all great tracks, some of my favorites personally. None, though, beat out Hot Top Volcano. And yes, the version of Hot Top Volcano I listened to is actually a remix that's kind of more of like a dance beat to it, which is awesome, but I still have a lot of nostalgia for the original tune. Either way, there should be something in the OST that you like, but it's a bouncy soundtrack for some cartoon racing after all, which works really well with the gameplay as well. The only real issue is that Banjo actually says, "Hi, I'm Banjo" in English, which is almost jarring for anybody who's actually played his later games. So let's talk about the gameplay for a little bit, and Diddy Kong Racing is a simple skill-based game. You can get items to help you equalize things in your favor, but this isn't like Mario Kart. Basically, they're different colored balloons in the stage. You hit one and you get an item. If you hit the same color of balloon while holding said item, you upgrade it. Say, for example, the red balloons give you the hard as hell to aim missile. Hitting the red balloon again before you use the missile will upgrade it to a homing missile. Hitting the red balloon again will instead give you 10 missiles at once. You can also get traps, boosters, shields, and even magnets through all of this. Another mechanic is that increases your chance of winning is the boost mechanic. Briefly, you can let go of the gas right before you hit a boost item or run over a boost pad. Roz the Genie does mention this briefly, but man, this increases your odds. Basically, releasing the gas before a boost increases the boost a ton. You can also drift, but it isn't as important as the boost mechanic in a single player run. You also have different character stats. I started as Timber, who I like for, actual racing, but he isn't great for the silver coin missions. It's not impossible, but it's difficult to use him. Actually, Pipsy became my go-to for most of the challenges from the single player. Her top speed sucks, but her handling is insane, almost 1-to-1 compared to the other carts. This allows her to pick up items pretty easily and hit boosters with ease, and letting the gas go trick makes her top speed not an issue against computers. The only real issue with Pipsy is her handling in hovercraft is a bit garbage. Her handling in plane isn't terrible though. Oh yeah, there are 3 vehicle types. The cars are pretty standard. Hovercrafts are cars, but they can go on water, and the control is garbage. And yeah, the plane is actually my favorite of the 3, as it has a lot of range of emotion and honestly is incredible to play with. I kind of wish the game did more plane stuff. This is also where drifting became more useful. It's better, tighter turning with some control issues. It's really useful in a plane. Airplanes are really fun here. Sadly, in single player, you will need all 3 vehicles to be successful, and yes, this single player is a difficult journey. Let's break it down. Each circuit has 4 tracks sharing a theme. There's Dinosaur, Ice, Beach, and Forest Village to kind of go through them again. They aren't super original, but the Dinosaur and Forest themes are pretty fun. The Ice themes and Beach themes aren't terrible, but the hovercraft usage in the Beach theme is a bit overdone. Not horrible, but enough to kind of dislike it. Guess what? I'm not a fan of the hovercraft. That's a shocker, I know. Again, some of these characters are really good with it, but changing characters is very annoying. You have to quit the entire game just to reselect the character. So, yeah, that's a fun little issue of breaking the pacing a ton if you want to optimize your character selection. Given Pipsy isn't terrible on the hovercraft, she's just not as good as some of the heavier mid-range characters like Conqueror Badger. You can beat the game with any character, technically speaking. Though part of my issue is that I kind of played this on emulator, which is already a problem. Emulation is tricky with some rarer games, just so you know. Don't get me wrong, I actually own the cart to this, the actual N64 cart. But emulation is a lot easier to record off of, so yeah, that's why I did it. I think all the bosses in the game are more challenging when you use emulation, as they're all kind of tuned to frame rates, making them way faster if you play on better hardware. You have to manually tune the frame rates down in most emulators to a certain degree to have a fair challenge. I think this affects the CPU racers too, though. Anyway, the first challenge is simple. You beat all 4 tracks in a circuit. The CPUs are slower than dirt here, so it's no big deal. Then you get a boss fight. Tricky the Triceratops is far more competent than the Dinosaur Planet version in Star Fox. The Walrus guy is pretty tough as well. The Octopus dude cheats, and the Dragon also kind of cheats as they use special items and obstacles. Though I guess Tricky kind of does too in a second race. Either way, you beat a race with a boss, and then you'll have to go through the Silver Coin Challenge. I call it the Blood Boiling Challenge though, as these kind of suck. There's 8 coins placed in each track. You have to collect them and still win the race. They aren't hard to find. That's not the issue here. The issue is that winning part. The coins are often placed in annoying areas that no sane person would ever drive through if they hope to actually win the race. Lovely. Bonus, unlike Mario Kart, as I mentioned earlier, there isn't actually an equalizer item in the game. You have access to the exact same items in first or last place. Oops. If the CPU in first place is too far ahead, you don't win. Bonus number 2 is, they're all faster during these races. Oh boy, some levels make this challenge awful. That's why I ended up playing as Pipsy. She's super good at handling and makes these coin challenges a lot more manageable, but you'll still need the optimized routes. Afterwards, you fight the area's boss one last time. They'll be more ruthless, faster, and cheat even harder, but once you beat them, you get a piece of the Wizpig amulet. Get all 4 pieces and the final boss is unlocked. With Wizpig, you know. He's a beast, but as long as you weren't playing on, better hardware like I am, you should be fine. That's probably why they haven't re-released Diddy Kong Racing for the Switch yet, honestly, because increased frame rates make Wizpig near impossible. Once I lowered the frames, I was able to beat him with Pipsy with a perfect run of his course. Still tough, but manageable at the very least with the boost trick. You know what? Up to this point, I haven't really brought it up, but when you beat a race, or beat a challenge, you get a balloon, a golden one to be specific. You're probably wondering what the hell these are for, because you can just find them kind of on the overworld too. And the answer really is, they open up doors. Yeah, that's all they're really used for in this game. They open up certain races if you have enough balloons. So basically you can kind of mix and match how you go about things. You don't necessarily have to do everything in order, but you have to beat every race in a circuit to beat the boss, so what's the point of those? I'll get to that in a minute of, what's the point of collecting them all. But I have to bring up trophies! You can compete in a Grand Prix race after the second boss fight in each circuit. Each area has a Grand Prix race, which the CPU is actually really good at racing all of a sudden. These aren't terrible though, since you don't have to, collect stupid coins to actually win the race. You just beat everybody and get gold. If you've managed to collect all 4 golden trophies after beating Wizpig, you can now go to Space, his home turf. This unlocks a brand new circuit with 4 new space tracks. Complete these, beat all the Taj bonus challenges, which is just a race with him around the hub, and find all the hidden balloons in the hub map to get all the golden balloons, as well as beating all the TT minigames. Oh, right. In each circuit, hidden in one of the tracks, there's a giant key. The first one is clearly visible in the first track, but the first one, oh man, you need to raise this drawbridge and boost towards it. It's a pain and hard to find without a guide if you don't already know where it is. Anyway, you find the key, and what you do is you unlock a mini game in each circuit. Some of them are battle games, similar to battles on Mario Kart 64, and some of them are just collecting mini games. You collect every balloon, beat all these mini games, and you get to fight the final boss fight with Wizpig. This time you're in a plane and he flies on a rocket. figure out the best route, and trounce him one last time to get the best ending in the game. By this point, you should also be able to see a frog in the hub world with a red rooster comb on it. Run this frog over with no mercy. This will unlock Drumstick, the racer with the fastest high speed, but he's heavy as hell. Cool to unlock him though. The last character to unlock is TT, the clock who runs the time trials. TT basically is a developer ghost in each time trial. Beat every developer ghost in every single course and you win TT. TT has the best stats in the game, but his ghosts are relentless. Beating them for each track is incredibly difficult, so I didn't do it this time around. Not like I need TT anyway, he's only useful in competitive scene, or if you want to replay the adventure mode. Which TT kind of makes everything piss easy at that point. So let's fast forward 10 years to the DS. This little handheld wasn't great for me personally. 2007 though, and Diddy Kong Racing had a remake. This version of Diddy Kong Racing is pretty good. The controls are pretty decent and you can upgrade your kart if you collect money. Yes, you can collect money in this game by racing and collecting coins while you're racing. Or, you know, finding this weird scratch ticket behind a wall. That's interesting. The issue is the touch controls that are included with this game. Some mini games and finding hidden coins and balloons, they're fine with the touch stuff. Drawing a track to race TT for amulet pieces is fine. I kind of miss battle mode, but this is okay at the very least. Using the touch to boost at the start is a bit cumbersome because you need the A button, you need the B button, you need the D-pad, and somehow you need to grow a third hand just to start the frickin' race. Come on now. Using the touchscreen to pop balloons and collect coins instead of, the silver coin challenges, these are kind of bad. I didn't think it would get worse than the silver coin collection challenges, but damn, they made them from stupidly challenging to boring as all hell. If you can stick it out though, the motion control popping balloons, you also move the camera with touch controls, which also sucks, but Wizpig and Taj are playable here. Yeah, that's kind of cool, I guess. I didn't, unlock them, because I don't like this version, but it's possible. Overall, this isn't terrible, but I cramp up so badly with touch controls due to my hands being kind of big, and I hate it. But who knows, maybe others will like this version. Alright, real quickly, before we wrap up, let's go back in time to 2005, before the DS, and 2 years before the Diddy Kong Racing remake. There was a game called Banjo Pilot released, which is a spiritual successor to Diddy Kong Racing. This game actually started out as Diddy Kong Pilot, but ended up swapping over to Banjo characters due to Microsoft buying out Rare. This game is plain only, but overall, this was kind of fun. I wouldn't immediately jump on this one, but I enjoyed the hour I put into it. There's a lot of references to Banjo-Kazooie, and the items are more like Mario Kart here, so they can quickly level the playing field in your favor. Of course, they can aid the computer players as well. The only issue I had is the boss fights. They are kind of awkward battles with, other characters. I couldn't get past the second boss fight, which is a shame because the racing is actually pretty decent overall. Just not the greatest thing ever. I would say the Game Boy Advance also has Mario Kart on there, and that's pretty good too for the system, but that one is also not as spectacular as, say, other Mario Kart games, if you get my meaning. It's not a must-play, but if you ended up with this game for Christmas, it probably wasn't the worst Christmas by any means. So, Diddy Kong Racing, the original, gets a 9 out of 10 from me. It's harder than it needs to be, and it can be seen as a bit repetitious, but it plays great. It has a creative story for this kind of thing, overly charming and great sounds, some fun secrets and hidden characters, and most of the tracks are really fun to race. The only real issue is the Silver Coin Challenge. They removed it entirely in the remake, but I wouldn't say the replacement is much better, and it's not even racing. I still say the remake isn't terrible if you can deal with the touch controls, and it can still be fun as the racing kind of feels a little bit better. And there's some notable character changes. Yeah, I didn't mention this earlier, but Tiny and Dixie Kong replaced Banjo and Conker. I don't think it's too jarring though, but it is kind of a shame. Tip Top's somehow still here though. Lastly, I recommend Banjo Pilot if you can find it for a fair price. I'm not sure it'd be worth 30 bucks or more, but if this game ever gets the Switch treatment, or, you know, just emulate it, either way, it's fun. It's just not something that's going to blow you away. I'm not giving it a score since I didn't go in depth with the review on that one. On a scale, I recommend Diddy Kong Racing a lot. If you haven't tried it, you should. It's harder and the item system is a bit different, but ultimately it is fun, especially if you like to go into these games single player, but it's still fun multiplayer too. Shame the game didn't get a true sequel though, as the remake is decent, the spin-off is okay, but I want a true actual sequel. Oh well, hopefully you all enjoyed my review. Please like, subscribe, comment. It all helps boost the video to super stardom. Take care, my minions.